On July 22, 1933, Wiley Post became the first person to fly solo around the world. His journey was one of the greatest feats of aviation and an inspiration to future generations of pilots. But what made him decide to take on this challenge, and how did he do it? Well, Wiley Post was a former male pilot who had already set several aviation records, including the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean, but he wanted to do something even more daring. He wanted to circumnavigate the globe without stopping or refueling. To do this, he would have to fly more than 27,000 miles in a single plane and stay in the air for more than 48 hours. No one had ever done anything like this before. But Post was not deterred. He had a strong motivation for doing this. You see, in 1931, he had crashed while attempting a speed record and nearly died. When he was found, his body was so badly mangled that the doctors at the hospital didn't even know his name. They thought he was a tramp who had fallen into a sewer. Post spent months in the hospital recovering from his injuries, and he knew that he might never fly again, but he was determined to make a comeback. He wanted to prove to himself and to everyone else that he could still fly and that he could still break records. So he began training for his solo flight around the world. He flew every day, practicing his takeoffs and landings and getting in shape physically and mentally. He also worked with engineers to design a plane that could stay in the air for long periods of time. The plane was called the Vega, and it was equipped with a powerful engine, extra fuel tanks, and a special autopilot system that Post had developed. When he was ready, Post took off from Roosevelt Field in New York on his historic flight. He flew over the Atlantic Ocean to Europe, then over Asia and Africa, and finally back to New York. He had done it. He had flown solo around the world in just over 48 hours. Post was greeted as a hero when he landed. Thousands of people came to see him and the Vega, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself sent a message congratulating him. But for Post, the greatest reward was knowing that he had achieved something that no one had ever done before. He had proved that it was possible to fly solo around the world, and he had inspired a new generation of pilots to do the impossible. If you want to learn more about Wiley Post and his amazing journey, there's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching.